How is it even possible that a major league television sports analyst can go on an absolute Twitter rant, make racially inflammatory charges against the President of the United States, and nothing happens? How is it even possible that the network that she works for doesn't think this is worthy of taking any action at all? Now, I'm talking here, of course, about Jemele Hill. She is the co-host of ESPN Sports Center, who unloaded on the president. I always wonder, why do people who are actors or actresses or sports analysts or others think that we care what they think about politics? I mean, she's entitled to her opinion, sure. But when she goes on a Twitter rant and says that Donald Trump is a white supremacist and he surrounded himself with white supremacists and he is a bigot and he is offensive and he's a terrible president and all of that, does she really not grasp that she is seen as an ESPN host, that she is viewed, whether she likes it or not, as representing her network? And, lots of people are piling on now, but how is it possible that ESPN, which we know leans to the left, I'll get to that in a moment, doesn't take any disciplinary action, doesn't apologize, doesn't ask Jemele Hill to apologize? Instead, it's we spoke to her and she now understands this is inappropriate. Inappropriate is when you use the wrong salad fork. Calling the President of the United States a white supremacist is not inappropriate. Okay? That kind of language says to me that what ESPN didn't want to do was undercut its person and do anything significant. Now, there is a long history, for those of you who followed ESPN, even its own ombudsman says that conservative employees who work there don't feel comfortable, that it has taken many public steps to make it appear like it is a liberal network that happens to cover sports. This goes back to the campaign, when ESPN, in the name of diversity and inclusion, pulled a celebrity tournament from one of Donald Trump's golf courses. This goes back to a few weeks ago, when ESPN benched an Asian American announcer from a University of Virginia football game because his name is Robert Lee, not even named after the Confederate general. This goes back to Curt Schilling, former baseball star, conservative point of view, when he posted something controversial having to do with the transgender bathroom issue. He was out of there. No 3 strikes, 1 strike, and he was out. But Jemele Hill, well, we talked to her, it was kind of inappropriate. And what about the mainstream media? So I went back and did a search, and after Jemele Hill's barrage of tweets on Monday night, the next 36 hours, no story on CNN on the air that I could find, no story on MSNBC on the air that I could find, Washington Post didn't cover it, New York Times didn't cover it. Now, if the same kind of racially incendiary charge was made against President Obama, do you think that might have merited a story? No, it became a story when Sarah Huckabee Sanders went to the White House podium, was asked a question about it by a Washington Post reporter, and said she thought the comments were outrageous and that was a fireable offense. And that started a sort of a counter wave of, well, who is she to tell ESPN to fire anybody? But I don't think that's what she was doing. She's saying it could be a fireable offense. And so it just seems to me that there is such a double standard here that you have to question, is it now acceptable, whether it's ESPN, another network, another newspaper, people on Twitter, to say just about anything about Donald Trump because the people who are making these charges don't like him, think he's dangerous, think he's a racist, and all of that? Or are there any standards anymore for talking and attacking the President of the United States, even when your field is not politics? I think we know the answer to that now, and I'm still shocked, amazed, and stunned that ESPN is willing to alienate probably half its audience that doesn't agree with Jemele Hill, doesn't agree that President Trump is a white supremacist, that ESPN is willing to take that risk rather than take some kind of action which would demonstrate that it is distancing itself in the very least, or taking some action to produce an apology, to apologize on her behalf for what she said about the President of the United States. These are very strange times that we are living in.